Jesus Christ was the perfect example of loving people where they were. We see it over and over again in Scripture. How do we apply that to our lives to emulate Him? That's what we talk about with Chase Falk on this episode of Sermon Shorts. Chase Falk, you spoke Sunday on the theme of see the example, be the example.
Right.
You used the scripture where Jesus washes the feet of the disciples. And in the midst of that, you asked a question that I think is a simple question that is easy to ask and hard to do. How well are we loving people where they are? How do you do that practically, and why do we seem to have such a difficult time with that?
Well, let's start with the second part of the question, Lance. When you ask the question, why is that difficult for us? And I think at the end of the day, for us in our world today, love has conditions upon it. And so what that simply means is that as you think about it, what you do for me is going to dictate the love that I show you. And the story that we looked at where Jesus washed the feet of his disciples, there was nothing that they had done to deserve what Jesus did. Jesus just simply, out of his love for them, served them and sacrificed them. And so it starts there, and it's difficult because, again, we live in a world where everybody puts conditions on love. But that word agape love is an unconditional love, and it says that Jesus loved them to the limit that they could be loved and that the depths of who he was. And so that love's just different, and that love should be something, though, that through the power of God that we can seek. And so that brings us to the place of what does it look like to love people where they are? And for me, first and foremost, as you think about that practically every day in your life, you got to start by seeing people. I think we live in a context today in our world where we drive up into the driveway and we go into our garage, and we do what after we go through the garage door? Shut the garage door, right? We have what type of fences in our backyard? Privacy fences in our backyard. We don't really engage well with the people around us. So to love the people well right where they are is first you got to notice them. You got to see them. Who is it that God has put in your path to live out the example that we are to follow that Jesus lived and modeled for us in the New Testament? So see them first. Now, once you see them, then you got to go even deeper than that and take notice in who they are. Listen well to them. Listen to what's going on in their life. Come up with some common things that you and that person have together and maximize that. And I think one of the things that our culture does a lot, and I do this personally, Lance, is that I try to speak before I listen. And listening shows the depth of your care to somebody. So see them, take notice of them. The depth of that is listening well. And then as you realize who that person is, what they have going on, and you've taken notice of all that, then it puts you at a place to practically be okay with their differences, be okay with the way God has created them and their personality and their giftedness, and just be able to then to say, God, help me to love them well right where they are.
And I think with us, a lot of times there is a fear that we have that if we do that we are endorsing a type of behavior that God may not call for, or we are enabling a type of behavior, but that's not the example that Christ showed in Scripture.
Right. You know, he served and sacrificed and loved, again, where they were, and then that gave him the opportunity to stand on his truth and let that be seen.
And when we take that mindset, it's like we are elevating ourselves to a position that we are worthy of a certain type of love and they are not.
Right.
And I think that is something that, again, as we said earlier, it is easy to talk about but very difficult to practice. So I pray that would be all of us would attempt to do that this week. And if you want to watch the entire sermon from Chase this past Sunday, you can catch it on our social media platforms, and you've been watching Sermon Shorts.